You're watching Alaska's news source.
You're not going to throw 83,000 workers off the Veterans Administration.
Today on the Morning Edition, Democrats celebrate as President Trump fights back after judges order the rehiring of thousands of fired federal workers.
A lot of it depends on how much ash is put into the air.
And with Mount Spur showing more signs of activity, what does that mean for travel and what else could be at risk? We break it all down for you this morning, but first... And the winner by Iditarod 53, wearing bib number 15, Jessie Holmes. He crossed under the Broad Arch just before 3 o'clock this morning, making it his first win. We've got live team coverage from Nome as the Morning Edition starts now. Congrats to him. Good morning to all of you. Big, exciting morning. And look, we have a special guest, Beth
I'm back.
We're all like running on adrenaline.
I know. A lot of coffee.
How exciting.
Most
Iditarod.
espresso shots I've ever had in a single 24 hours,
I know.
but it's so exciting.
Right, and Beth's going to have all of our Iditarod coverage. As we mentioned, of course, we've got live team coverage, so we'll let you do your thing. Meantime, though, Aaron, weather-wise, good morning.
Yeah, waking up out towards Nome as those mushers make their approach towards the finish line. We're talking about some chillier conditions, 5 below currently this morning in Nome. Now, this coming after several days where we've seen those temperatures sitting in the teens. The overnight lows have been managing to drop back near or below 0 degrees, and that is what we're seeing this morning. Although throughout the afternoon hours, we are going to see those temperatures break above 0 once again. Out west, this is where we're holding on to some of those clearer skies and colder conditions. 15 below in Kotzebue, 13 in Fairbanks, 3 below in Deadhorse. You can see a good portion of the state still sitting on the chillier side. And that day planner for Nome showing that temperatures throughout the afternoon, mid-morning afternoon hours will slowly warm. By 10 a.m., beginning to approach 0 degrees. Into the afternoon, late afternoon, we're talking about those temperatures breaking into the teens. So still holding on to some of those chillier conditions. The back half of the Iditarod has been a lot cooler compared to the first half, which remained fairly warm. So looking at the conditions across the state, we're still holding on to some snow showers across South Central with some areas of wintry mix as you head out towards Prince William Sound. Fairly quiet elsewhere across the state, although we could see some light flurry activity as you head into the interior this morning. Meanwhile, as you head out west, we are still holding on to some of that persistent northerly flow that is leading to some breezy conditions. Not everyone seeing those breezy winds, but for areas out nestled near the water, we could be holding on to some of those breezy conditions throughout the remainder of today. Coming up in my full forecast, we'll be talking about possible snow this weekend across South Central. We'll have a slow warming trend, which will bring our highs back near 40 as we welcome in next week. I'll have more details on that as well as we'll look ahead to your 7-day forecast coming up.
Hey, we officially have a freshly minted Iditarod winner in Jessie Holmes, who led much of this race and can now claim the title of champion. Our trail crew is live in Nome tonight with the latest from the finish line. Jordan, what's going on? Hi, Jordan. I think he can hear me, maybe. Or we might just be moving to video. Here we go. Jessie Holmes has done it after 8 tries and 3 top 5 finishes. He is officially an Iditarod champion. He joins that elite group of mushers, many of whom were his mentors and idols, helping him become the first under the new Broad Arch in 2025. Now, this was all before 3 a.m. this morning. The Alabama turned Alaska musher was trotting, sometimes jumping down Front Street, as you see here, as he saw his dream unfold in front of him. Emotion on his face after more than 10 days on the trail in one of the longest Iditarods in history. He ran his own race the whole way to Nome, led by lead dogs Polar, Arctic, Hercules, and then the rest of the gang too, which Holmes immediately gave all the credit to, soaking in this moment to achieve a lifelong dream.
I'm beyond excited, about this, and I'm beyond grateful for all the support from all the Alaskans and all the people around the world following me from the show, and when it's hard and tough out there, I just think about, all these people that are so excited and pulling for me, and if I died tomorrow, I'd just die the happiest man.
And that comes from about a 45-minute press conference with Holmes, during which he shared some of those stories from the trail, gave more praise to his 4-legged athletes, who led him to his first Iditarod victory. Next musher expected under the Burl Arch is Matt Hall, who could earn his second runner-up finish in as many years. But this morning, Holmes and Team Can't Stop Kennel, Iditarod 2025 champions. We will have more coverage from the finish throughout this broadcast. Now, Holmes making it to mile marker 1,128, a.k.a. that finish line. The two teams he's had to work hardest to fend off are now also in the home stretch. It's Matt Hall, who is closing in on the Burl Arch, and Paige Drobny, who is headed for that final checkpoint safety just 22 miles from the finish. Now, the trio is in White Mountain on mandatory rest, a trio that includes Michelle Phillips, who will be able to leave at around 7 this morning, Mitch Seavey, who has a couple hours more than that left, and Bailey Vitello, who arrived there a little after 2. We'll be back with lots more Iditarod coverage, expecting to see that runner-up cross the finish line soon. Again, Matt Hall, not too far out now. Ariane.
All right, thanks, Beth. In other news this morning, we remain on alert as Anchorage prepares amidst reports Mount Spur and a potential eruption that would result in the volcano spewing ash over Anchorage, Matsu, or the Kenai Peninsula. Mayor Suzanne LaFrance says the city is closely monitoring the situation. The Office of Emergency Management is leading the charge and making plans just in case. Now, first priority is working with multiple agencies and city departments to assess the needs and also ensure the municipality is ready.
Are we going to need to have a bunch of masks for people who work outside, like for solid waste services or the Parks and Recreation Department? And that's a distinct possibility, just as a safety measure, because that's our biggest concern, is just to keep everybody safe.
Street maintenance is also gearing up to clean ash off the roads, should that be necessary.
Hopefully, it's a sweeping show for us. And then, again, it just depends on the coverage. If it's in the grass, on the planter strips and things like that, we'll just approach it and deal with it as it comes.
He says if air quality does become an issue, they can use special sprays to tamp the dust and ash down. Now, what you'll hear us say repeatedly while describing precautions is that ash is abrasive, so this affects your health and safety. But in terms of your vehicle, well, it's best to rinse the car down before you even start driving. Avoid using your windshield wipers without wetting the windshield first, and always use washer fluid. John Stoner, owner of Alaska Spring and Performance, he says avoid driving at all, and staying home is really the best way to prevent any vehicle damage. But if driving is necessary while ashes are still being stirred up, your vehicle will need new air filters and an oil change.
If there is ash present in your area, is to wash it. Don't just start driving down the road. Wash it off with a garden hose, wash your radiator down, hose it on the front of it. And you got to keep it on your air filter. You do want to replace it a couple of times. There are some tricks, though, to save you some money. For that is, if you have a new air filter and there's ash present, put a pair of pantyhose around it. And it creates a pre-filter and keeping those smaller micron ash particles from going inside the engine. And then change your...
Well, if Mount Spur erupts, it will impact travel, including aviation, and that could shake up spring break plans during the 1992 eruption, which is what the Alaska Volcano Observatory used as an example to show what the area could deal with. Is one reason why state transportation leaders say regularly prepare with drills. During the last eruption, travel expert Scott McMurrin told us that he was at the airport and says the best advice is to have a plan.
This might be a good idea to check on your travel insurance, okay? Because things happen. Things are happening right now in our backyard. And so pay attention to that. Pay attention to your cancellation on a trip or a hotel. Rental cars typically you don't have a problem with cancellation, but hotels and, tours and stuff like that, pay attention to that.
If it does come into Anchorage proper, like it did in 1992, we could be looking at a short-term closure of the airport, and certainly we would likely see some impacts to both our commercial and our, small plane operations.
Alaska's weather source continues to be on volcano watch. The quickest way, though, to get your weather team's real-time updates is by signing up for our push alerts. Our weather app is free to download. Stay with us for more Iditarod coverage this morning. After a decade on the trail, veteran racer Paige Drobny reflecting on her consistent competition and why she always seems to end up near the same familiar face. Plus,
Uncertainty in Washington. I'm Jared Hill with questions swirling about a possible government shutdown, the future of federal workers, and how far the president's trade war may go.
Expected to see some light snow showers across parts of South Central today, particularly out towards the western parts of the Susitna Valley. I'll have more on that and our chance of snow into the weekend. But first, sunrise, 8:18 in Fairbanks, 7:15 in Juneau. Your full forecast is next.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back on your Friday. A total lunar eclipse wowed stargazers overnight with the Griffith Observatory capturing a clear look at the so-called blood moon. Check that out. A total lunar eclipse. It occurs when the sun, earth, and moon, they align in space with earth in the middle, leading it to cast a reddish shadow on the moon. The eclipse could be seen through most of North and South America, but don't worry if you did miss out on the sight. The next total lunar eclipse, it will occur on September 7th, followed by another one that will be on March 3rd in the year 2026. Nonetheless, though, if folks out there captured some pictures of that, I didn't get to see it, Aaron, but still very cool to see.
Yeah, we do have some photos coming up in both hours this morning of seeing the lunar eclipse, and even a stunning shot coming up in the next hour of the aurora and the lunar eclipse both at the same time. Yeah, yesterday we officially saw from the storm system Wednesday into Thursday brought 6.7 inches of snow accumulation. That brought our seasonal total to 40.2 inches. Of course, that should say snow yesterday and not snow today. I will correct that, but this is the highest storm total for Anchorage since Halloween. So more than 4.5 months since we've seen this amount of snowfall across the Anchorage Bowl. And we are waking up this morning to some additional light snow that is occurring through Cook Inlet region out towards southern parts of the Susitna Valley. Those temperatures remaining in the teens and the 20s across a large portion of South Central. We're going to continue to favor areas west of the Parks Highway out towards western parts of the Kenai, which will continue to keep some of that light snow in the forecast through the remainder of your Friday. As far as Anchorage, we'll likely stay on the dry side with some flurry potential looking possible, but the areas that snow you can see as you head west of Meadows Lake out towards areas west of Houston as you head towards Big Lake, Alexander Creek. This is where we're holding on to that better potential for some of that light snow this morning. Can't rule out a few flurry potential for the Anchorage Bowl. Those temperatures set to warm into the mid-30s throughout the afternoon hours, and you can see how that chance for some snow continues to linger for areas of western parts of South Central. Now, through the afternoon, evening hours, we'll begin to see some dry breaks, maybe some breaks in the clouds as well with some peaks of sunshine with those temperatures warming into the mid-30s. As we welcome in Saturday, largely on the dry side, but as we welcome in the evening hours, we'll begin to see another band of some snow pushing across parts of South Central. This is where we could see the potential for a few more inches of snow accumulation across parts of South Central. So we'll be watching for that into the weekend. Now, here over the next couple of days, for areas that do manage to see that snowfall, we are talking about the potential for about 1 to 4 inches with some locally higher amounts through western parts of the Susitna Valley. So we'll be watching for that into the weekend. But watching those snow chances, they do remain with us into the weekend and into next week. We're also going to tap into that potential that we could see some areas of wintry mix. We've got some sunshine with some light wintry mix out towards Ketchikan. Those temperatures warming into the 30s and the 40s today. That light snow continues to taper off across parts of the Kenai. Those temperatures up under mostly cloudy to overcast skies remaining in the 30s. And we do have that light snow out towards Whittier. 25 degrees in Golcana, the Valley, seeing those temperatures breaking into the mid to upper 30s later this afternoon. And we are going to keep this cooler stretch of weather with us for the next couple of days. St. Patrick's Day, a high of 32 degrees. But very quickly next week, we warm back into the lower 40s area. And we're also talking about the chance that we could see some wintry mix in the forecast.
All right. Thanks, Aaron, for the update. Now let's go back to Beth for more Iditarod coverage.
Well, the Iditarod and the Mushers and others who participate in it have so many stories to share. We want you to get to know the top 3 teams in this year's race just a little bit better. So we'll start with newly minted champion Jessie Holmes, whom you see here out on the sea ice along the coast. Sports Director Jordan.
Veteran musher Jessie Holmes had a game plan heading into Iditarod 53.
Being smart, being strategical, and taking good care of the dogs, which has been my forte. If anything, you know, that's kept me from winning some of these years.
and has stuck to it in one of the longest Iditarods to date from Fairbanks to Nome.
I'm really excited to go mush through a historical trail on the 100th anniversary of the Great Race of Mercy to save the town of Nome. You know, that's amazing. We're following the footsteps of so many legends, and we're going through Nenana, which is a very special place to me. Yeah, Nenana! Woo!
Setting the pace on some of his favorite type of trail.
I'm a river rat, you know, so being on the river comes easy to me.
Running his own race even when he felt he was losing a grip on his first Iditarod victory.
I got lost on the river and went through all kinds of rough stuff, and it was actually a pretty scary experience for me and the dogs. So the whole front of the race was kind of getting away from me by 10 and on. I was like hours behind. I had the thoughts that maybe it ain't the year, but I stuck to my game plan.
Staying on trail and on track, cleaning up 5 trail awards along the way while leading for much of this race.
Welcome to Iditarod. Hi, sir. And you have won the Gold Coast Award.
Wow, this is beautiful.
Led by his lead dogs, Polar and Arctic.
Yeah, they did amazing. Yeah, Arctic and Polar, they're just big, tough, furry dogs.
And in control of the race with more than a 3-hour lead by the time he reached White Mountain. And as Jessie and company approach the new Burled Arch, he isn't doing it for just him and his team.
And, you know, I lost 2 great mentors in Rick Mackey and Gerald Riley this year, and, you know, I'm taking them with me, and I'm going to go win this race in honor of them.
And when he did. Now, Holmes had his work cut out for him this year, and there were 2 mushers he had to seriously work off to fend to work off. Now, one of them being veteran and Yukon Quest 1000 champion Matt Hall.
I think we kind of become rivals because we're both after the same thing. You know, we both came into our rookie Iditarod the same year. He's been getting me up, like you said, by 1 position here the last couple of years. But, you know, I got him for the rookie year, and he was already the Quest champ. So we've been going back and forth at it. So, I mean, I think this seals the deal for me. I'm sure he'll be coming for me next year.
Now, after spending much of this race in the top 3, the veteran Hall, who was second last year, is sitting in the runner-up spot again, behind Holmes, of course, right now.
Oh, dog.
Hey, Matt.
Woo!
Welcome to
How we
Mountain.
doing?
Doing fine.
Super high energy here. Hall arrived to White Mountain a bit after Holmes yesterday afternoon, and with a mandatory rest involved at that checkpoint, well, that meant he also had to stay there a few hours later. He told Iditarod Insider a bit about his rest at Elim, the plan he had and how it changed and why.
It was just a good time to give back to him. There was no, I was done chasing, couldn't catch him. There was a little bit of a buffer between me and Paige. So my camp out of Koyak, I took an extra hour from what I planned there. I took 4 instead of 3. And then I was like, you know, if I'm gonna bounce these guys back, you know, win by a minute, win by a mile, whatever that saying is. It don't matter if he's 6 hours ahead of me or 6 minutes ahead of me, so why not just put it back into him? So, yeah, we stopped again and hung out for a while until Paige showed up, and I didn't let myself lay down until I made sure that she wasn't going through.
Hall, who was born and raised in Eagle but now calls Two Rivers home, was the Yukon Quest 1000 champion in 2017, and that is the full Yukon Quest, not Yukon Quest Alaska or Canada. This year marks his 7th Iditarod. Holding third, as she has for much of this race, is veteran musher Paige Drobny, who also spoke about this lead group, including Holmes, Hall, and herself. Drobny, who trains out of Cantwell with her Squid Acres kennel, marks her 10th Iditarod in 2025. She has already placed in the top 10 3 times in this race, including a personal best 5th place last year. Here she is in Caltech the 2nd time this race, and in talking with Iditarod Insider at that checkpoint, she says she somehow always manages to be in a similar spot compared to one of her competitors.
I always think, you know, the thing I find so interesting is that since I started racing, Matt Hall and I have always been around each other at this point in the race, and we always come from a different way, and we always end a different way too, but we always are right around each other for the last third, always doing different things.
23 mushers in this race, 22 left to arrive to Nome. Again, behind Holmes is Hall. He's said to be out 6 miles out from the finish line, but is closing in on Nome right now as Drobny comes up on safety.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.